According to the Joyful Heart Foundation, child abuse can broadly be defined as an act or failure to act that results in a child's serious harm or risk of harm, including physical or emotional harm, exploitation, or death. Most cases of child abuse go unreported. However, in 2008, the national rate of reports of child maltreatment were 10.3% per 1,000 children. Yeah. Child Protective Services screened 63% of those reported, and 772,000 children were confirmed as victims. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reported that 71% of these children experienced neglect, 16% were physically abused, 9% were sexually abused, and 12% experienced other forms of abuse. Within the same report, it was stated that there were more reports of maltreatment for boys versus girls, 51% versus 43% respectively, and the ages most affected were from birth to 1 year. Most maltreated children were white, 45%, and 56% of the perpetrators were women. Another area of potential child abuse involves corporal punishment of children. Its use is widespread and nearly universal, and it has been practiced for generations. In a study done in 1995 in the United States, parents were asked how they discipline their children. An estimated rate of physical abuse of 49 per 1,000 children was obtained when the following behaviors were included: hitting the child with an object, hitting the child somewhere other than the buttocks, kicking the child, beating the child, and threatening the child with a weapon. Overall risk factors that make children more susceptible to child abuse have been divided into several categories: child, parental and family, and social and environmental.
Child risk factors include premature birth, birth anomalies, low birth weight, exposure to toxins in utero, temperament which is difficult to warm up to, physical, cognitive, or emotional disability, chronic or serious illness, childhood trauma, antisocial peer group, age, child aggression, behavioral problems, and attention deficits. Parental and family risk factors include loss of control, poor impulse control, depression and anxiety, low tolerance for frustration, feelings of insecurity, lack of trust, history of abuse during childhood, high parental conflict, domestic violence, single parent with lack of support, high number of children living in the household, substance abuse, separation, divorce, high stress level in general, and poor parent-child interaction. Social and environmental risk factors include low socioeconomic status, stressful life events, lack of access to medical care, no health insurance, lack of access to proper child care, parental unemployment, homelessness, lack of social support, exposure to racism or discrimination, poor schools, exposure to environmental toxins, and dangerous or violent neighborhoods. One should suspect child abuse or neglect when the child shows sudden changes in behavior or school performance, has not received help for physical or medical problems brought to the parent's attention, has learning problems or difficulty concentrating, is always watchful, preparing for something bad to happen, lacks adult supervision, is overtly compliant, passive, or withdrawn, comes to school early, stays late, and does not want to go home, is reluctant to be around a particular person, and discloses maltreatment. One should suspect child abuse or neglect if the parent denies the existence of or blames the child for the child's problems in school or at home, asks teachers or other caregivers to use harsh physical discipline if the child misbehaves, sees the child as entirely bad, worthless, or burdensome, demands a level of physical or academic performance that the child cannot achieve, looks primarily to the child for care, attention, and satisfaction of the parent's emotional needs, or shows little concern for the child. One should suspect child abuse or neglect if the parent and child rarely touch or look at each other, consider their relationship entirely negative, or state that they do not like each other. Consider the possibility of physical abuse when the child has unexplained burns, bites, bruises, broken bones, or black eyes, has fading bruises or other marks noticeable after an absence from school, seems frightened of the parents and protests or cries when it's time to go home, shrinks at the approach of adults, reports injury by a parent or another adult caregiver, or abuses animals and pets. Consider the possibility of physical abuse when the parent or other adult caregiver offers conflicting, unconvincing, or no explanation for the child's injury, or provides an explanation that is not consistent with the injury, describes the child as evil or in some other very negative way, uses harsh physical discipline with the child, has a history of abuse as a child, or has a history of abusing animals or pets.
Good morning. Oh my god, hey, what's up?
Hey.
What are you doing here?
My kid's not feeling too well. She
Hi,
has
Emily.
asthma.
Oh, she has asthma. Yeah, parenting is a hard job.
You can say that again.
Emily, are you feeling any pain? No pain? Okay, so I saw that the physician actually ordered albuterol for her, so she can breathe better. And before I give her medicine, I just want to listen to her lungs, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Is that okay? Can you just sit up for me so I can listen to your back? Oh, Emily, I noticed you have some bruises on your back. Did you fall recently? No? How did you get those bruises? Is everything alright at home, Emily?
Oh, come on, Jenna. We've been neighbors for years. You know we don't do anything bad in our home.
I'm sorry, Jennifer, but I'm talking to your daughter right now.
She fell off her bike. Is that a good enough answer for you?
Okay, Jennifer, I'm going to get Emily's medicine now. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Jenna is faced with an ethical dilemma because she doesn't know whether or not to report the suspected child abuse. She has known Jennifer for many years and does not believe that she is the type of person that would abuse her child. However, Jenna knows that under federal and state law, she has an obligation to report suspected child abuse. She does not want to break the law and potentially lose her job, but she also does not want to rat out her friend. Jenna can use an ethical decision-making model, the 5 steps of principled reasoning, to help her come to a conclusion. The first step is clarify. Determine what must be decided. Eliminate anything illegal or impractical. For example, not reporting the suspected child abuse is illegal, so it should be automatically eliminated. Step 2. Evaluate. Differentiate between facts, beliefs, and opinions. Step 3. Decide. Determine who will be helped the most and harmed the least. The child could be in great danger if the nurse does not report it. Consider the worst case scenario, not reporting it and the child being severely injured. Step 4. Implement. Develop a plan. Step 5. Monitor and modify. Monitor the effects of the decision. Be prepared to revise the plan if needed.
Hey Jenna, what's going on?
Hey, Joelle.
You don't seem like yourself. What's up? What's
So
going on?
I have this pediatric patient, and she has signs and symptoms of an asthma attack. And I walked in the room, and I realized that they're my neighbors.
Whoa.
So as I was auscultating her lungs, I noticed she had bruises like all on her, and I would hate to think that her mother would do that. I lived next to them for so many years, and I even consider her a friend. So I don't know what to do.
Well, I believe no matter what the relationship between you and the mom is, I think that this is something that social services should know and should be brought up to them immediately.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
Okay, so we'll make sure to we'll make a incident report together and we'll take it from there. Okay?
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
Thank you, Joelle.
No problem.
Provision 1.5 Relationships with colleagues and others. The principle of respect extends to all those with whom the nurse interacts. The nurse maintains relationships that are caring and compassionate with a commitment to fair treatment of others and to conflict resolution. The nurse serves and functions in many roles, and within each of these roles, the nurse treats colleagues, employees, students, and assistants with dignity and respect. This means that the nurse does not engage in actions that are based on prejudice or harassment or threatening of others. The nurse also engages in the collaboration with others to ensure the provision of quality healthcare services. Provision 2.3 Collaboration. Collaboration is the concentrated effort of multiple members of the healthcare team in order to achieve a desired outcome. In healthcare, the goal is centered on the needs of the patient. Because of the need for multidisciplinary team efforts in the healthcare setting, teams must operate within a realm of professional respect and trust. Therefore, the role of nursing within the team must be clearly defined, represented, and preserved. There should be open dialogue and shared decision-making among all members of the healthcare team and the patient. Nurses should advocate for the participation of all relevant members of the healthcare team and ascertain that all vital questions are asked and that necessary information for informed decision-making is provided. Provision 3.4 Standards and Review Mechanisms. Nursing has a duty to ensure that only individuals who are competent and exhibit the skills and knowledge necessary to practice remain in the nursing profession. Nurse managers and administrators have a responsibility to evaluate the skills and competence of each nurse under their supervision prior to assigning the nurse tasks beyond entry-level academic preparation. The nurse has a responsibility to know and to maintain current standards of practice. Nurses should participate in programs which address continuing quality improvement, such as ethics committees, quality improvement programs, or credentialing programs that help the nurse to attain elevated levels of quality care. Nurse managers should assure that their employees have access to and the opportunity to be included in ethics committees. Nurses should bring forward difficult cases for review and work to achieve the inclusion of others in discussions regarding patient care dilemmas. The nurse should not, under any circumstance, condone, silence, or participate in any act which serves to place blame or to hide the commission of an error. Provision 3.5. Acting on questionable practice. The nurse has a responsibility foremost to the patient across the lifespan and inclusive of all settings in which healthcare services are needed. Being an advocate means that the nurse takes action against any incompetent, illegal, unethical, or impaired practice by any member of the healthcare team or healthcare system that jeopardizes the health, well-being, or rights of the patient. To achieve competence in this role, the nurse must know the standards of care, the code of ethics, the policies and procedures of the institution, and the applicable state and federal laws. When the nurse becomes aware of questionable or inappropriate practice, the nurse should express concerns to the person who is responsible for the questionable conduct. The effect upon the patient and to nursing in general should be brought to the person's attention. When elements of the healthcare system threaten the safe delivery of care, the well-being of the patient, or encroach upon the rights of the patient, the issue should be brought to the attention of the manager or the administrator. If indicated or deemed necessary, the matter should be brought to the attention of the higher authority or to outside regulatory agencies as appropriate. CAPTA mandates that all states have laws requiring mandatory reporting of child abuse and neglect. Every state has mandatory reporting laws for those working in healthcare. NJSA Law 9.6-8.10 states that any person who has reasonable cause to believe that a child has been subjected to abuse or neglect shall report the same to the Division of Child Protection and Permanency by telephone or otherwise. In order to provide a complete report, provide the following information if known: the name, address, age, sex, and race of the child, the name and address of the person responsible for the suspected abuse, the nature and extent of the child's injuries, knowledge of previous cases of known or suspected abuse of the child or the child's siblings, the family composition including any siblings, the name, address, and/or contact phone number and occupation of the person making the report, relation of the person making the report to the child and/or how the information was obtained, any action taken by the reporting source, and any other information the person reporting feels is important.
What am I supposed to do? Per 1,000 children.